Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is an added bonus, extra beautiful question for me, where I want to do solving linear inequalities with you as a grade 9 learner. So when we look at a linear inequality, it is something like this: x smaller than 3. The question is more, what is the difference? Well, this is the big difference. So as Mr. VG is doing this video with you, please understand that it's much different from looking at equations, because the big question is, what does it actually give you? It means that x can't be 3, but x could be 2. X could be -1. Also, x could be -3.5. So in other words, do I have a single answer, or what do I actually have? Well, I've got infinitely many solutions. So if I have to draw it as a number line where there's a 3 there, it could be any of those numbers there, but it cannot be equal to 3. So therefore, I don't color in the 3. And there we've got it. So the difference between equations and inequalities: equations gives us singular or maybe one or two solutions, while inequalities gives us infinitely many possible solutions. So if I look at trying to solve those two sums, I'm going to give you a minute or two to go and do that yourself. Or let me rather say, you hit the pause button for a minute or two, and then you come back and we look at solving for x. In the first one, I'm just going to handle it as a normal equation. So I'm going to add 1 on both sides, which leads me towards 2x greater or equal to 6. Dividing both sides by 2, so x must be greater or equal to 3. So reading that, it's any number greater or equal to 3. Again, on my number line, it's any number that's on the right-hand side of 3. But you will see that I color in that number 3 because of the equal to. That equal to leads me towards coloring in the 3. What does it mean? Any number bigger than 3 is a possible answer for the inequality, which means 4 should be right. But let's check it. So if I take 2 times 4 and I subtract 1, that is 7. Is that greater or equal to 5? That is the question. Yes, it is. So therefore, it means any number on the right-hand side of 3. So it could be 4, 5, 5.75, the square root of 324. But any number on the right-hand side of 3 would be possible values or possible solutions for the inequality. So when we have a look, ladies and gents, on the second one, this one is a bit more of a tricky one. But I'm going to follow my basic instincts, which were trying to get my x's on one side, because it is a linear inequality. So I'm going to subtract an x on both sides, and I'm going to subtract 13 on both sides, leaving me with -3x smaller than -6. But here is where the big difference comes in between linear inequalities and linear equations. If I divide both sides by -3, my inequality sign has to swap around. This is a very basic fundamental rule you can learn. So this means that x is greater than 2. So let's write down the rule. NB, the sign changes when you times or divide by a negative number. So on the number line, any number greater than 2, I am happy with. I'm not coloring in the 2 because it can't be equal to 2. Let's look at our last equation. Now I'm challenging you a little bit. You try and solve that one. And don't give up so easily. What I'm going to do, and now you might start seeing why I don't talk about taking a 1 over to one side or that, because in these kind of sums, it's important that you subtract 1 from both sides. And this leads me towards that specific inequality. I can divide straight through by 2, and my final inequality is now x between -1 and 2. But let's talk about what it means. Remember, you always read from the variable. So in other words, from the middle outwards in this case. X must be larger than -1, or x must be greater than -1. If I look on the right-hand side, x must be smaller or equal to 2. And you will see I use the word and because x lies in the middle. So this means if I look at the inequality on the number line, I've got -1 and 2 as being important parts. X must be larger than -1, but smaller than 2. So it's that whole part between -1 and 2. Now, -1 is not going to be colored in, but 2 is going to be colored in because of the -1, there's no equal to, but at the 2, there is an equal to. Woo! This was an interesting little experiment. Ladies and gents, please go and practice these sums. Make sure that you can do it. And have a beautiful rest of your day. This is Mr. VG signing out. Cheers.